If your team got guaranteed money, tell them call me.
Whoop. Make me say, my. I done been around the world.
Yeah, I was made for this.
Player Performance with J.A. Cavalier.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Player Performance College Football Week 5 edition. It is going to be an electric slate with a lot of ranked games. Can't wait to get into it. I had myself an electric week. Get back to the stride. Week 4 was absolutely awesome for me. Awesome for the show as well. I was looking back and we were just smacking plays. But I'm joined as always with the man, the myth, the legend. It's Coach Rick. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Wonderful. You mentioned last week. Great week. I'd look back Thursday through Monday Night Football, 24-5-1, couple of max bet. Yeah, it was awesome. Like you said, we freaking dick stomped all these picks that we had on the show last week. So looking forward to doing it again in week 5.
I noticed that every hat that I wore, I think they all covered. So even though I had or not, they all covered. I mean, so if you haven't seen this show before, we break down the top 25 games, and then we give you some extra picks. Coach will have 2. I will have 2. And these games could be outside the top 25. Hell, we could be even talking about the FCS. Yeah. But without further ado, we're going to get into the first play that we're going to be talking about here, and this is going to be an electric matchup. USC versus the Illini. You see me, the Illini hat at Memorial Stadium, Champaign, Illinois. Listen, Illinois just got stomped. Said it on the show. Indiana is going to go out there, and I didn't think it was going to be 63-10, but it was. Now they get to go back home, and they're going against a West Coast opponent in the USC Trojans. That is not a weak opponent. But I'll start with you, Coach Rick. What do you think about this game, USC versus Illinois?
You mentioned last week. I honestly didn't think Illinois get beat that bad either. I actually was one of the picks I lost was Illinois plus 7.5, and they didn't get stomped; they got dick stomped, and that's credit to. And I should have known because I played for Kurt's dad. I should have known. Like he had his team ready to go, and they didn't miss a beat. But who might not else miss a beat is Lincoln Riley, who watched that film. And you can bet your ass he's looking at, hey, what the heck did they do to tear apart what is a pretty decent Illinois defense? The problem that you're going to have, I don't know when you're going to watch this show, but as you're watching, please check your recency bias because what you're going to want to do is say, oh, man, Illinois just got ripped a new ass, 63-10. Oh, they're going to be on, they're not going to have any motivation, blah, blah, blah. USC comes in, they're 4-0. Oh, their offense is scoring 53 points a game, 580 yards. Nobody can stop them, blah, blah, blah. Check that at the door because a couple things. One, like I said, USC's offense, outstanding. Like they can move the ball and they're great, and that's awesome. Defensively, we actually have a kid that plays for USC. He's one of their starting linebackers. But their defense, I mean – it's vulnerable at times. So I'll give you 2 examples. One is Purdue. They went to Purdue. They played my QB, Ryan Brown. Ryan actually went over his passing yards prop, his TD prop, and he had a decent day. They were in that game till about the third quarter. And then last week, they're playing Michigan State at home, and there's no question they're going to win the game. It's 24-10 early. But in the third quarter, USC's defense gave up 2 touchdowns within 5 or 6 minutes to Michigan State. And, the game was within a touchdown going into the fourth quarter. So, USC, solid team, but they do have to travel. And I know some people make a big deal out of this. How much effect will it have? I don't know. But I do know a stat. Since 2013, USC, they play a game in the Central or Eastern time zone, and they are 1-12, and they're 1-12 against the spread too. So I know this one's around 6.5 right now. Maybe you get it at 7. If I were you, if you like Illinois, I would back Illinois, but I would take it at 7 plus 7.5. Illinois in the points.
Yeah, this game had me perplexed. And I was hoping to get a shorter line to get some value on Illinois. But when I saw that 6.5, I went, I was like, I don't know. Is it going to get stronger? I said, maybe we'll wait till the end of the week, see what the line's going to be going on this one. But Illinois just looked absolutely terrible. And I was kind of not high on them anyways going into that game, just on the sheer fact that I thought the Duke win was a little bit misleading, even though they did win by double digits in that game. But they come off that terrible performance. I think this is an outlier if we look further into the season on this Illinois team. Minus 418 net yards, 61 yards total offense in that game, 2 yards rushing in that game alone. I mean, they just absolutely got stomped left and right. It was abysmal. But you have a USC team that is just 4-0 in the year. They're off a win against Michigan State, 45-31, plus 184 net yard average on the game. Illinois' defense has been exposed in the passing game, 356 yards to Duke and 267 last week versus Indiana. Indiana was trying to just run the ball a little bit more on that game, so it could have been higher than that. And you have a USC team that can put up passing yards, 282 passing yards versus Purdue, and 225 versus Michigan State. I need a good barometer, though. Illinois in this game could be a good barometer for them in the season. Now, going back to a little bit of what Coach said about them kind of traveling, USC on the road, it's been a problem for them. It's a problem in their first year in the Big Ten. As an away favorite versus conference opponents, this dates back to 2023, so a little bit of the sample size in the Pac-12 as well in there. 1-8 ATS in those spots. This is why I'm a little hesitant to take this game, because I really, as high as I am with this USC team over the whole entire season, I just need to see them a little bit on the road in the East Coast. And some of these early kick games, which we'll have here, and I know they always talk about the clock adjustments at 9 a.m. kick for them, whatever. Or maybe 10 a.m., depending on what part of the time zone it is in Champaign. I haven't looked that far into it. But I'm throwing that out the window. I just want to watch the game. I do lean towards the USC side because I just think Illinois' stock is a little too high. But am I going to play it? Probably not. I'm going to be passing on this one. Let's go to the next game. Let's talk a little SEC football with LSU versus Ole Miss. Man, do we have ourselves a game on this one at Vaughn Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, Old Mississippi. 3:30 is going to be the kick on this one. Listen, if you want to look at a stat here, home team is 11-1 ATS last 12 meetings. So is this an Ole Miss spot? I'll ask you, Coach Rick. What do you think?
Wow. So this is a game I actually have no official play yet. I'm not there yet. But I do have some analysis that I think is worthy. You mentioned the home team. Home team's 11-1. The home team's won the last 5 straight in this. Does that mean you automatically take Ole Miss? Well, I don't know, but it's worth noting that Ole Miss, when they entered this, the look-ahead line had Ole Miss as a +1.5 dog, and that line has flipped, and it's now -1.5 in the Rebels' favor. This is one of those games. The next 3 games that we'll talk about, all 3 of them, just tight. I mean, very tight. We're looking at lines of field goal or less, and they're tough to cap. So, again, be careful. Just because you like Ole Miss, doesn't mean you jump on them, or you like LSU. Why? What's gonna make you take one or the other? And that's where I'm at. I still don't know yet, but both offenses, outstanding. Lane Kiffin gets tons of credit for what he's done offensively. He's had a ton of QBs. He's all of them have produced. He's got 2 now. He's got Austin Simmons, who started the year. He got hurt in game 2. He was replaced by a kid. His name's Trinidad Chambliss, who happens to be from Michigan. He grew up on the west side of the state. He was actually the quarterback at Division II Ferris State when they won one of their national titles. They've actually won quite a few over the last 4 or 5 years. The kid's solid. He's a great athlete. He can run it and he can throw it. As of yesterday, I don't think Kiffin knew who he was going to start, but I did see it today that Chambliss is going to get the start. So I don't think their offense will miss a beat. The other thing is that both defenses are outstanding. Like Ole Miss went 10-3 last year, really because their defense was so damn good. And LSU has been, you're holding Clemson to 10, you're holding Florida to 10, just great defenses. And for all that, then I go to this. So you might want to think about playing the over, right? Because you're going to go back and you're going to look and you're going to say, oh my God, these teams just The offenses are so good, and look what happens. So you have point totals over the last 10 games, 104, 101, 95. I mean, it's ridiculous. A team has scored at least 30 points in this game in 9 of the last 10. They didn't hit it last year. LSU won a game 29-26, one of the lower scoring games in the last 10. But I would caution you from playing the over because the line right now, 55, maybe I saw 54.5 today. That's the lowest line in this game since 2017, 2018. The total in this game is typically 60, 61. There was a game that had a total of 77 like 5-6 years ago. So I think the books are telling you that this game might not have as many points as you think. So be careful if you're thinking about playing the over. I don't have an official play, but I'm going to leave you with this. If you like Ole Miss, if you like the fact that they were a +1.5 dog, and that line is flipped in their favor, and they're playing at home, and the home team has won so many of these games in this series. If you like all that, if you're thinking about playing Ole Miss, play them on the money line. You don't have to worry about the points, and you're going to get about the same price anyway.
I mean, you hit a lot of the key points on this one, especially when you talk about the total. 2015 was the last time it was below 60, I think. This one was
yeah. I mean, God.
And that's a telltale story. And I think that, like, you know, we talked about on this show, we talked about LSU more than once on this one, and I've kind of said the same thing. I'm like, these totals for LSU were egregiously high because the offense was so elite and their defense was kind of regressing. It's polar opposite right now. You have to understand they lost a lot of that offensive line to the NFL, and that's really affected Nussmeier. And you can see it as he's playing. However, the defense has done their job. And, you see Brian Kelly getting scrutinized about his rush offense and the production of his offense, and he's losing his mind. As a guy that was a Notre Dame fan, and Brian Kelly was my coach for, I think, a decade, I recognize when he's got the heat on him about his offense. He knows his offense sucks, and he's dealing with it. That's how he lashes out. But when we talk about this game here, both teams are 4-0. Both teams are winning by margin by 20 plus in these situations. Both have plus 100 plus net yard averages in this one. The game will come down to this. It'll come down to Ole Miss offense versus the LSU defense, because Ole Miss puts up 573 yards of total offense per game in their first 4 games, and that was against Kentucky, Arkansas, Tulane, and Georgia State. I think Kentucky and Arkansas, that's favorable in that sample size. With LSU, the defense, it's the same type of situation. 246 yards of total offense given up to their opponents. That was against Florida, Clemson, Louisiana Tech, and Southeast Louisiana. So 2 of those opponents there, I think that is a good sample size there. Now, Florida found some success in the passing game against LSU, put 287 on them. So, and Ole Miss is going to want to pass the ball. They can run the ball and do whatever they want offensively, 325 passing yards per game. Last year, this game, like Coach said, ended at 29-26. There's a 3.5-point LSU. I can't remember who was favored on that one. I think it was LSU. Oh no, Ole Miss was the favorite on that one. The total though was 62.5. Now you're seeing the total here at 54.5, and like Coach said, lowest total. He said 20. It was 2017. It's actually 2015. And the home team seems to have the favor in this position, but it doesn't correlate to the side on that one because, like I said, Ole Miss was a 3.5-point favorite on the road last year. Now you're seeing them as a shorter favorite here. So maybe you're picking a winner. Maybe it's time for the road team to win and kind of kill this trend with the spread. But I think it kills the trend to the overs. We already had 1 under. We might as well have 2. I like the under in this game. Coach likes it too. LSU, Ole Miss, under 54.5 is how I believe play this one. Let's go to the next game. Electric slate. We're going to the Big Ten here. Down in Happy Valley. Finally, Coach.
There you go.
We have a whiteout. None of this big noon kickoff stuff for Penn State getting screwed over when they have to play Michigan or Ohio State. Or even Oregon, for that matter. So maybe the tides are turning here for Coach Franklin. But I'll start with you, Coach. It's a whiteout. Oregon, Penn State. What do you think?
Little whiteout history. Started in 2004 because, Penn State was terrible. They weren't doing well. So they had an idea. They said, hey, we're going to have all the students wear white. So they wear white, and it's awesome. And they got beat by Purdue. So in 2005, they decided, hey, let's try it again, but let's have everybody wear white. So I was actually at that game, and I sat in the student section. Long story, but I'm in the student section, and Penn State won that football game. They were not the best team on the field, but they pulled out an upset, 17-10 over Ohio State. And the whiteout has lived ever since then. It's a huge game. It's a big deal at Penn State. It's going to be a rowdy crowd. It's a night game. It's national TV. The two teams played for the Big Ten title last year. We all know how that turned out. Again, this is another game with a tight point spread. I've seen 3.5. I've seen 3. Penn State was earlier in the week was a 4.5 point favorite. That line's come down. It's moved. You want to say it moved in favor of Oregon? Fine. But these are two great football teams. It's very rare that you can say this. Both teams are ranked in the top 15 in scoring offense and scoring defense. They were last year too. I mean, they're just outstanding. Both defenses are just ridiculous. It's hard to lose games when you give up 5 or 6 points a game. I think Oregon gives up 9. Both quarterbacks are outstanding. I saw Drew Aller play in high school. He played it over in Ohio. Awesome. I think he's gotten a ton better since he's been at Penn State. Dante Moore coached against him. We played him in 7-on-7. He's from Detroit, and we played his high school Martin Luther King in a 7-on-7 thing in the summer one time. He was 14 years old, and I was like, damn, this kid's going to be good. And, of course, he is. He's completing 75% of his passes. He's thrown 1 interception, and he's done everything that Dan Lanning wants him to do, and that's just don't make mistakes. And like I always tell my QBs, don't do dumb shit, right? Drew Aller, same thing. He's a little bit lower completion percentage, but just 1 pick. Hasn't really had to throw the ball that much. And Penn State really hasn't played anybody. But both QBs, they have the luxury of having great running games. So both offenses are awesome. Both defenses are great. I mean, what's it come down to? So here's what you're going to do. You're going to do this. And be careful of this, too. Well, James Franklin can't beat the top 15. He can't beat the top 10. I know. I'm a Penn State fan. I grew up with it. I worked Joe Paterno's camps in the summer. He recruited my kids. Like, I know Penn State. I get it. He's 4-20 against the top 15, I think, 1-8 or something against the top 10 or 5. Okay, great. But you got to take this game individually on its own, right? Oregon comes to Penn State. Again, West Coast travel to East. Does that play a role? I don't know. As a player, I don't think it would have affected me, but it might have something to do with it. I don't know. Does the whiteout have an effect? I don't know. So again, I'm not there on a side yet. I'm not there on a total, but I do have an interesting take on this game that I think I like, and I'm going to play it. These two teams are so damn even. You're probably thinking, well, Penn State has an edge early because they're at home, going to be all juiced up. You don't think Oregon's going to be fired up? Freaking number 6 team in the country. So first quarter, right? These two teams are going to come out, and I think it's going to be tight. And, Penn State has scored, even against Villanova, it was 7-0 at halftime. Game before, 7-0 at halftime. Oregon tends to score a little bit more early, but I think there's value on the underdog in the first quarter because I think it's probably a tied first quarter. So I like Oregon plus 2.5. You can get it around minus 135-ish. But if you go up to 3.5, you're paying like 180. So I'm taking Oregon plus 2.5 in what I think will be a close first quarter as the play.
Interesting take on that one. It's almost like as you were talking that out, like what my brain was telling me is like, these two defenses are very good. This is kind of the first challenges for the offense, whatnot. They were really not having a meaningful starting role since he was at UCLA, and everybody questioned his move to go and just be the backup at Oregon. I think it's kind of worked out to his favor now, seeing how he played. We'll see how the season goes. But seeing offenses typically in these big games get a little bit too jacked up. They maybe overthrow running backs, the defense kind of flourishes in those situations because to be pumped up, it favors the defenses more to be jacked up than it does the offense. The offense got to be cool, calm, and collected and just methodically move the football and be focused. Maybe an under in the first quarter. I'm going to be looking at a lot of totals on this one, how to play this game, maybe give a few free bets on that one, just look at some of these splits. But when we look at these two matchups together, I mean, both teams are having their first challenge of the year. The big joke is Penn State. This is the start of their season. This is their week one because they haven't played anybody. I would say the same thing about Oregon, even though they played their rival Oregon State. But who cares? I mean, Oregon State is just a shambles of themselves. They're virtually an FCS opponent now. But you have Penn State that's coming off a bye, well rested, well prepared. Oregon is not. This is a revenge game for Penn State, of course, from the Big Ten championship, an electric Big Ten championship, even though it didn't fall into Penn State's favor. A lot of scoring in that game, 45-37. But they were 3.5-point dogs in a neutral site. And now you're seeing them here as a 3.5-point favorite the next year, less than a year at home. Why? Because it's a whiteout? That is crazy. That is a significant movement, in my opinion, from a neutral site to a home split when the line flipped to your direction. Maybe you would see that on a home away split, but that would be kind of aggressive on that one too. So it feels like a Penn State spot to me. Penn State did win the yardage battle in that game. If you look at the numbers, 518 yards of total offense in that game, -2 turnover ratio resulted in 14 points for Oregon. That was the difference in the game. That would have been Penn State -7, or they would have won by 7 if they didn't get the turnovers, right? Penn State also 7-2 ATS last 3 years as a single-digit favorite. This is the first time Penn State has been a home favorite versus a top 10 team since 2025. So you can take those stats about Franklin and throw them out the window. 1-5 ATS is a home dog versus top 10 ranked opponents. So that's where that stat comes from. Every time Franklin sits there as a home dog, he's usually playing Ohio State or he's playing Michigan. It's one of those two teams. That's what's crazy about these numbers. And then Oregon is 4-0 ATS as an away dog versus top 10 teams. So take that with a grain of salt. It goes back and forth as far as who you're supposed to pick here. I have a small lean to Penn State -3.5, but I need to see Franklin get over the hump. You're playing a top 10 team yet again. The lights are brightest on you yet again. Your team is probably the best it's ever looked in any situation, in any team that you've ever been on, in my opinion. You could argue the Saquon Barkley days, I guess. I think he was still the coach there. It wasn't O'Brien. But this team is loaded for bear. The offense is great. The defense is great. Let's see you get it done. I do lean Penn State. Am I going to play it? I don't know about that. Some of these top 25, top 10 games, I just see how they play early in the season. Let's go to the next game. Let's go to the SEC. Let's go to Bama, Georgia. Should be a electric one here in Georgia. Sanford Stadium, Athens, Georgia. 7:30 is going to be the kick on this one. Yes, a night game with the dogs barking. Now, Georgia, if you know anything, death taxes, Bama always owns Georgia every single time. Now you're seeing Georgia as a favorite yet again. Is it because of Saban or is it Kalen DeBoer? Now, Kalen DeBoer is 1-0 against Georgia. Happened last year. I'm going to pass it to you, Coach. What do you think about Bama, Georgia?
It's kind of a broken record here, as with it's a tight spread, tight game, two great teams. Probably the two elite programs of the last decade and a half. They play each other every year, basically. Played in a couple national title games. Interesting that Georgia, favored at home. They've won 33 straight at Sanford Stadium, between the hedges, right? But I just, I don't have a play on a side because neither quarterback really excites me. That said, they're both actually playing pretty well. Gunnar Stockton's completing 71% of his passes. He hasn't thrown a pick yet, which, there's a couple bad things that quarterbacks can do, and the number one thing is throw a pick. So he hasn't thrown one. On the other side, you got Ty Simpson, who, stepped in this year, kind of an unknown, and he's completing 72%, and he hasn't thrown a pick yet either. And Alabama's thrown the shit out of the ball so far this season. Alabama, the one thing they can't do, it seems, is run the football, and whether that's good or bad, I don't know, because I'm sure Georgia can load up the box and stop them. The one thing, though, that this rivalry has produced, especially over the last several years, is just points. I mean, as good as these defenses are, the offenses have been better. It really started with, when Saban was like, hey, I got to figure out how to score more points, and he hired Lane Kiffin, But since then, those two teams, God, they put out, defenses with tons of NFL-type talent, and we'll probably see, there's 22 guys on each, the two defenses. You're probably going to see 15 or more of them like playing in the NFL at some point in the future. That said, offense has been the name of this game for years. 75 points last year, 65, 65, 71. 7 out of the last 10 have gone over. Interestingly, in those 10 games, Georgia has 1 win. Anyway, the total set at 52.5. Alabama, third-ranked pass offense in the country. Georgia, I don't think their defense is as good as it has been over the past couple of years, so they may be vulnerable even if they can stop the run. I think Alabama finds a way to move the football. All 3 of Alabama's games so far have gone over the total. 2 out of 3 for Georgia. I think both teams score, and 52.5 just too low for these teams.
I'm fully aligned on this one. It has an official play. I haven't got there yet. Total on last year's game was 49.5, and it is an uptick at 52.5 right now. So it's kind of like going in that direction. But you talked about that sample size, 9-1 straight up. I was like, the last 5 out of the last 7 were at a neutral site in the SEC championship in a lot of cases, or in a national championship.
Or national championship, yeah.
Correct. So I mean, when you look at these two teams, they're both coming off a bye. They're both going to be prepared for each other, especially early on. Bama is a team that's going to want to pass the ball. Coach talked about that. 300-plus passing yards in the last 2 games, 254 on the road versus Florida State, where technically they played bad, quote unquote. The weakness of Georgia, we saw it against Tennessee. It's the passing game. 371 yards let up by Tennessee, and I think Bama is going to expose that yet again. I wouldn't be surprised you're going to see 300-plus there from Ty Simpson. He's going to want to go out there and rip it. Georgia's offense is a little more pass, run on that one. Bama has shown some weaknesses against the run, and I think that was more predicated on the Florida State game in week 1 where they gave up 230. But that was more because Castellanos was running in that one too. I think he was the leading rusher in that game. Bama has owned them, like Coach said, 9-1 straight up in the last 10. Can't get to the side at all. But I like the over on the sheer fact that we saw Georgia give up 41 to Tennessee. And Bama also gave up 31 to Florida State. So both teams, from a defensive perspective, can give up points. So if you have that, you have 2 good offenses that can go out there and rip with Gunnar Stockton and Ty Simpson and those elite wide receivers that they have. Look for an over. Look for a high-scoring game. I think 52.5 is too low, and we're going to see an over on this one. So I got to lean there, not an official pick. I'm going to be doing the over here at 52.5. All right. We gave you 4 of the top 25 games. Make sure as you're watching this video, and I know you guys are right now, hit the like, hit the subscribe to the Jay Cavalier channel. And also, check us out every single week. Set your notification bell. This show is going to be released every Thursday morning. And between the 2 of us, of course, Coach, you said you were 24-6 in football combined last weekend. Well, I was 19. So both of us together, we looked like a Illinois and Indiana score. I mean, pretty much, So I mean, keep following us along. This is when we start getting hot, when the data gets cooking. And like I said, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, support the show, and get to the comment section. Drop a few comments as well. All right, Coach, we're going to start with your game that you like, and it is South Alabama versus North Texas.
Yes,
Man,
sir.
North Texas off that big win versus Army on the road. Now they get back home where they're nice and comfy in Denton, Texas. They're going to be playing South Alabama. What do you think about this?
Yes, sir. Love North Texas. Talked about them last week. Last week, that was one of our VIP picks, was North Texas to win and cover. They did have to go to overtime to do it. But one of the reasons I like North Texas against Army last week was just the sheer fact that Army's defense just wasn't what I thought it should be. And North Texas proved that, scored 48 points, especially the passing game. They just and then they were able to run the football too. I think they had over 200 yards rushing, about 250 passing. But it's kind of the same story this week. They're North Texas 4-0. They've only been 5-0 once in the school's history. So this would be a big deal if they get this win at home against a South Alabama defense that, you can equate it to Army, really. They are 125th in the country against a run. They're giving up over 200 yards a game. And you understand North Texas is an air raid team, but these air raid teams, if you go back to Mike Leach, like they find ways to attack you. And if you take things away in the passing game, they're not afraid to run the ball at you. And North Texas proved that last week. And I think they do it again here. South Alabama actually very sneakily is in the top 20 in pass defense, but it's really because their opponents haven't had to throw the ball. So I think North Texas is going to have its way with South Alabama. They give up 31 points a game. They're on the road. North Texas at home, where they've won 13 of their last 19. They are a big favorite. I think they opened at 9.5. It's up to 12.5 now. But I actually like North Texas early. They're very good in the first half. They tend to get out to quick starts. They're 11th in the country pass offense. Like I said, they ran for over 200 last week. I think they just tear it up early and take the wind out of South Alabama. And I like North Texas -6.5 in the first half.
I feel like we're going to be talking about North Texas more than once this season. I mean, we already talked about it twice in a row, back to back.
One of the, I early in the season, I think we did the conference previews, and I like Navy. One of my picks was Navy to make the AAC championship game. I think I'm going to go back and get North Texas to see what they're looking like, because they could be a sneaky team that could win that conference.
Absolutely. I mean, they've looked good so far early in the season. Now we get in the conference play. This one's not a conference game, though. I don't
No, South Alabama's in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, so maybe another week. But we already saw them play Army, so we already got a little bit of sample size. I think Army's dropping. But speaking of Army, let's go into my pick. Let's talk a little Pirate football, baby. Let's talk Army Pirates.
Yeah.
And we love it down in Downey, Ficklin Stadium, East Carolina. It is always rocking there. By God. I'm wearing the Pirate hat for a reason, because I'm high on the Pirates when this one they're playing. Very good. Get on the ship. And we talked about it. And Coach Rick already alluded to how bad Army's defense is. They're coming off that 45-38 loss, and this is a team that can kill the clock. And then you got ECU coming off a loss to BYU, 34-13. They had a -2 turnover ratio, -14 net yard average. So yardage-wise, they're able to stay with a good BYU team. You just can't turn over the ball against them. And with Army, they're going to want to run the ball, of course. They're triple option, 301 rushing yards per game, 4.4 yards per carry. But ECU, even though this is a different type of scenario, rush triple option, ECU's done well against the run. NC State, a team that is in the P4, 2.9 yards per carry given up to them. Coastal Carolina, 2.6 yards per carry given up to them. They actually did very well versus BYU as well. I think this ECU defense can get ready and play against this Army team. And with ECU, they're going to be able to pass the ball. You saw North Texas air raid style. This ECU team averages 331 passing yards through the air this year. This is also a revenge game. I love taking advantage of revenge angles in college football. It is highly emotional, especially when you get them back at home. They lost 45-28 to Army in West Point 17-point dogs in that situation. Now the line is flipped and making ECU a -4 favorite in that spot. Very different team here. ECU is also 5-1. ATS the home favorite under head coach Blake Harrell. Give it to me all day long. Jump on the ship. Give me ECU -4 as the play in the AAC. Back to coach. He is playing. Oh, God, I can't wait for a pick on this one. Don't hurt my feelings. Notre Dame versus Arkansas. Going to go travel on the road. Listen, Notre Dame got their first win of the year. It took 19 night, a big lightning delay. Game ended probably around midnight, but they got the job done, and coach was there to watch it. I feel bad. He stayed there for a long time, probably drank too many bourbons, but he still got to see my Irish get his first victory of the year, but they're going against a very electric Arkansas team. Coach, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, we got home at 2:30, by the way. Spent the lightning delay talking football with dudes from Chicago, so it wasn't all for naught. But it was cool. It was not, it was great, great experience. Got to see, Ryan Brown, cover both of the props that we played on Saturday, which was kind of cool. But Notre Dame just was far superior, and I hope that they will stick to the plan. And I think if they have to win out to make the playoff, and if they want to do that, I think they got to just feed the ball to both Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love. You saw it against Purdue, and Purdue's not all that great defensively. And guess who else is in Arkansas? They're kind of meh, but Notre Dame gave Purdue a heavy dose of run. I think they should do the same in this game as well. And that takes me to kind of what I'm looking at here. So Notre Dame was actually favored by 12.5. Way back at the end of the summer. And then you saw the two losses at the beginning of the season. Now that line's come down to Notre Dame -4. What does that tell you? I don't know, but it tells me this. Both these offenses, just Arkansas, I mean, if you don't know Taylon Green, like you better, you should. I mean, this kid, I didn't realize, going into, I think it was last year, I didn't realize how big he was. He's freaking 6'6". He's put on some weight. He's 240, 245-ish. Slings the ball like a champ, and he can run. Arkansas is the number 15 in pass offense in the country, 324 per game, I believe it is. They run the ball well, 228 a game. They're in the top 20 there, well over 500 yards a game. They can put points on the board, there's no doubt. The problem that they have, well, number one, defensively, number two, just mistakes. So they're 2-2. They lost their last two games. Both games, late in the fourth quarter, driving down to score the winning touchdown, and they fumbled. Both games, 2 in a row. We were in the lightning delay last week. We were actually watching Arkansas and Memphis and saw that the fumble, and we're like, Jesus. But anyway, both these teams can score. Both these teams score a lot, and they do it early. So Arkansas averages 43.5 points per game, Notre Dame 40 a game. Before you say, oh, the game's going over, hold on. Both these teams actually score most of their points in the first half. And, I think Notre Dame did it very well last week. They scored 35 in the first half against Purdue. But Arkansas is number 3 in the country in first half points. They score more than 30 points per game in the first half. And it's not like they've played, turds. Like that one of those games was against Ole Miss. So they can put it up on anybody. Notre Dame, top 20 in first half scoring. They average 22. I like the first half over. It's set at 31.5. It's rare to see a first half total, in the 30s, but it's there because these two teams can light it up, and they do and have in the first half this year. So Notre Dame, Arkansas, first half over 31.5.
Yeah, I think that offensive line is proven on the rush block, on the run block too. There was that Jadarian Price run. Oh no, it was the Jeremiah Love run where he had that long run for a touchdown, and the whole entire line basically trucked 7 guys for Purdue.
It was a zone play, and he bounced it, and I mean, there was nothing there. They showed it on the the big screen. You look at it, and you're like, oh Jesus, he's gone.
He took out the linebackers and the line.
Just
all that was
crazy.
left in the secondary, and it was like, okay, this is
and off of that, I'll mention this too, because this is the thing that gives Notre Dame's defense problems is either man blocking or gap blocking schemes, and Arkansas runs a ton of them. They'll run a lot of power, and like I said, they're number 20 in the country in rush offense, 220 plus a game. That can give Notre Dame fits. So I think both teams kind of run the football, and maybe it extends the game a little or shortens the game a little bit, but I still think they can get to 31.5 in the first half.
Coach likes high scoring in the first half of Notre Dame and Arkansas. Giddy up. Let's talk about. Hey, you mentioned Taylor Green. Let me talk about his former team here for a second. The Boise Broncos going against the Mountaineers of Appalachia out in Albertson. Boise, Idaho on the blue turf at 7:30 at night. And listen, you may be looking at this hat. You may be thinking this boy is going to be taking Boise in the point. Well, let me tell you why you shouldn't be doing that. You should be taking Appalachian State. I know it's a lot of points to be taking here on the dog, but they're coming off a close win versus Air Force. I'm not impressed with this Boise team so far. They're 2-1 on the year. Of course, they lost South Florida in the first game. Appalachian State's coming off a heartbreaking loss, I would call it, 38-22. You say, well, why was it heartbreaking? Well, they were plus 81 net yards, and -2 in the turnover ratio. So I went and looked at the box score. Appalachian State was driving the ball every single dang time, but they couldn't put points on the board. They turned the ball over on the USM 4, the USM 4, and the USM 7-yard lines inside the 10 3 times, 0 points, 3 turnovers. That's unbelievable that you would do that in a college football game. Now, Boise's pass defense is their weak point this season. 255 passing yards given up to USF, and then 246 passing yards given up to Air Force. What? Air Force has a passing game. That's unbelievable. And then App State's passing game is their strength. They average 358 passing yards per game this season. Also, App State's defense not bad at holding as far as the defensive side is concerned. They hold opponents to 274 yards per game of total offense. App State is great as a double-digit dog. Last 5 instances where they've been a double-digit dog, 4-1 ATS. And Boise is in a look-ahead spot. Guess who they got to play next week? We're tying all the games together. There's a game that this guy over here just talked about that's playing against Arkansas. It's Notre Dame. This team has to go to South Bend next week. A little bit of a look ahead on deck, and you're a double-digit favorite at home versus an App State team that looked a little bit awful against Southern Miss, but when you go into the box score, maybe not so awful. I think App State, coming off that bye, is going to be well prepared against this Boise State team, and a Boise State team that's susceptible to losing to teams as a favorite. Give me App State plus 16.5 as my second play. All right. We just broke down the entire board. We gave the top 25, and we gave you 4 extra plays. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the Jay Cavalier channel and check out everything that we're doing on Instagram. Why Lose Coach? Why Lose Guns? And go to our telegrams and join up on the deals. Like you said, we're starting to get hot in football. 19-6, 24-6. Just last week alone. We're just going to continue this momentum all the way through football season. Coach, give them some words. We'll close them out.
Words of wisdom. Pick your spots. And don't bet with your heart. Don't bet on emotion. I mentioned some things like recency bias and, watch that total in LSU and Ole Miss. These are some tight spreads in some of these top 25 games. You may want to do what Gunz and I like to do, and that's find some gems outside of the Power 5. So, pick your spots, pick them well, play your spots. Remember, you got to take your swings because you got to learn, right? I don't win them all. I don't know everything. I know a lot, and I don't win them all, but I do win a lot. And that's because I just stay disciplined and pick my spots and try to pick them correctly. So let's have a great week. Again, Coach Rick, Max Bet Friday night, college football. Coach Rick, Max Bet Saturday, college football. $49 will get you that Max Bet plus any of the plays that I have as well. usually 5, 6, sometimes up to 10 or 12. You get all of those. If I miss, then we're going to sign you up for a month. You're going to get 1 month of all that for free. So let's do it.
Hell yeah. And this dude hits max bets. Yeah, you should see. I was just looking at how the games that I've already written up. I was like, you're going to have to go and check out YouTube or go to Facebook to find some of these games I like this week. I mean, there are some good ones, and they do have some validity. This is what we like to do. Yep. But that's how we bet college football. But yeah, I'm gonna have my promo is up. I'm gonna load it up Thursday right before the games. Get my Elite Week package. That's right. I'm gonna do it for $50, and if I don't make you 5 units, then you get a month of my picks for free. I also give you 2 max specs in that one. I'll give you one in college on Saturday. I'll give you one on Sunday in the NFL. I went 2-0 in those picks last week. So sorry, guys. You're going to have to reload because we made 22.5 units in the NFL and college combined last week.
That's all?
That's it. I'm sorry, guys. I said I was like, listen, I said I got to make it at least 5. I should have made it 10, but I'm going to keep it at 5. Keep it lenient. You're going to have to reload, but that's what we're going to do there. Elite weekend. Probably the last one. Price may go up if I hit another 22 units. I'll just say that. All right, that's going to do it here for Player Performance College Football Week 5. I'm Gunz. That's Coach Rick. Let's catch some tickets. Let's dominate the board. And as always, Coach.
Giddy up.
And let's keep dancing.
Cut my life into pieces. This is my last resort. Suffocation, no breathing. Don't give a fuck if I cut my own.